Thanks for joining us this afternoon for this webinar on the Excel add-in. We're excited to have you. I'm the product manager of the Excel add-in, and we'll go over today a brief PowerPoint presentation about the benefits of the add-in, some of the use cases that we have. We'll talk about the basic commands that you will need to use to query the data. And then we'll talk about how to get started, whether you're using our templates or if you want to get started from scratch. And then we will move on to a deep dive into Excel. So we did send earlier this morning a workbook for you to download. If you haven't received that, please go ahead and send a chat so we can forward you that information. That will allow you to follow along with the demonstration, and it will also be sent to you at the end of the webinar completed so you can take a look at it and practice or follow up with your CSEs. So today on the call we have a variety of people. We have prospects and we also have some Morningstar new clients. For new clients, we will be handing your contact information as well as follow-up items in the email that we'll send you afterwards to give you the opportunity to reach out to your CSE for further contact and training on the add-in. So with that, we'll start.
Thank you. Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants will be on a listen-only mode. During the question and answer session, you may press star followed by the number 1 on your phone if you would like to ask a question. You may also send your questions through our WebEx Q&A box. And now I would like to turn the call over to your host for today, Malado Cisse. You may now begin.
Sure, thank you. So what is the Excel add-in exactly? The Excel add-in is a tool that allows you to easily extract data from our databases, and we have a comprehensive set of investment data and data points that you can access to through Excel. One of the benefits is that you can then leverage the Excel functions to further analyze your information, whether that's like charting the data that you brought into Excel or formatting the data or using some of the native Excel calculations to look into more insights. You can do that in Excel. The other benefit is that you can now bring Morningstar data alongside your own data that you either host in-house or third-party data. Let's say, for instance, you have FactSet data or Bloomberg data. You can have all of that into Excel for further analysis. So what are some of the use cases of the Excel? The tool is pretty versatile, just like Excel is itself. It allows you to do a variety of things. So these are just some examples of the things that you can do in Excel. If you're, for instance, looking into understanding the correlation between a lineup of funds, because you do manager research, you can use some of our templates to understand how correlated funds are in your lineup. You can also use the Excel add-in to pull holdings information. If you're looking to understand over time what are the holdings of a particular fund, what managers are selling, what stocks are they buying, you can visualize that information and get aligned data. You can also looking into pulling historical return streams to do analysis and understanding, for instance, where the positive returns are, where the negative returns are. You can do computer analysis if you're an investment analysis and you're looking to understand what are some of the computer analysis of a particular fund versus another one. You can do that in the add-in, and we'll go over one of those templates. If you're more into fundamental analysis and equity research, you can create earnings reports with various fundamental data points attached to each of the securities that you're looking to understand further. And then finally, we have macro data. So you can look into understanding at a macro level what are some of the dynamics that could potentially impact your portfolios. So this is all great, but how do you actually get the data in Excel? First of all, you need to have Excel to be able to access the add-in. Just like the name says, it's an addition to Excel. So once you are in Excel and you've downloaded our add-in, which we'll go over in a couple more slides, you will need to use some basic commands to retrieve the data. These commands are fairly easy. There are basically 6 of them. The first one is MSDP. It stands for Morningstar Discrete Data Point. And this allows you to retrieve a discrete value. So let's say, for instance, I'm looking to see what the ticker is for Dodge and Cox. So that's a discrete data point. For that, you basically need two things. You will need to know the security that you're looking for, and you'll need to know the name of the data point. This is the most basic function in the add-in, and as you will see later in our templates and deep dive in Excel, we'll go over some of these functions so you can see the application in real life. The second command is MSTS. It stands for Morningstar Time Series. This is actually one of the most used commands in the Excel add-in today. It allows a person to retrieve time series information, historical data, basically. For that, you will need a little bit more information. You will need to know the security that you're interested in pulling. You will need to know the data point, so for instance, return. And then you will need a start and end date so it can query that time frame for you. The next one is MS Days. I personally like this one a lot. It basically allows you to retrieve dynamic dates. So this is a little bit hard to explain, but we'll give examples throughout the demonstration later. It basically allows you to dynamically retrieve the information so you can create your templates and your Excel models using these dynamic codes instead of hard coding the dates, and that way every time you open your Excel it automatically refreshes the information with the latest data available to you. MS Holding, this is my favorite. It stands for Morningstar Holdings. It allows you to retrieve holdings data, and this is like a super powerful command because it's very different than anything that we have at Morningstar, and it actually is superior to the version, the capabilities of Direct in that sense that you can pull as many holdings as you want to in one UI and analyze all the underlying information at once. And you can also specify different time horizons for that. The next one is MS Members. So the good news is a lot of our users have Morningstar Direct, and they do a lot of preliminary analysis in Morningstar Direct to create lists of investments or searches or screens, and then they save that in Morningstar Direct, and they want to be able to pull that information into the add-in. MS Member actually allows you to pull that information in the add-in instead of recreating lists of searches and so on and so forth. So it's a big time saver. And then finally, MS Econ. This allows you to retrieve economic indicators. This is a newer function for us, and we're definitely working on rebuilding some of that capability and adding more information as we go along for our users. So with that said, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the first things that you can do. When you download the add-in, there are two things that you can basically do. You can start from scratch and do what you're looking to do, or you can leverage some of the templates that we already have available. The templates are really good in the sense that they're already made. We've curated a set of data that we think are interesting, that tells a story. You can download them, and then you can adjust them. You can do different things with. So this is a screenshot of one of the templates that we're going to go over. But basically what we've done here is we've pulled historical return streams for a particular market, so the S&P 500 total return. This template is called Analyze the Best and Worst Months of the specific market. And what we've done is we've pulled the return from 1985 to 2006, from January to December across those years, into Excel. And then we've added a function of Excel, which is conditional formatting, which is all the colors, the pretty colors that you see here, to kind of highlight, for instance, what are the positive return months or the negative return months. So the color code is green for positive returns, and the darker the red is, the more negative the return is. And then at the bottom, we've then used some of Excel native functions to calculate the average, to do the minimum and the maximum. So this is visually interesting because we have access to the data, but now you can actually leverage the power of Excel to do a little bit more analysis and understanding. A lot of people use this with their clients. So you can say, for instance, on average, August and September are not the best month for this S&P 500 total return for this particular time frame. This is another one of our templates. It's called the winners and losers of various markets. And these are all available, and I'll show you where they are. But what this template basically allows you to do is to pull different markets that you're interested in or asset classes. We're pulling the returns of those asset classes into this table here. We're then using a macro to rank this from best to worst. And then we're adding conditional formatting so you can see this skill table here. And for instance, in 2006, the best market was the real estate TR-USD. Then you can kind of see the crash happening in 2008. And then finally in 2015, if you were, for instance, to recommend a particular asset class to invest in, you can see from the graph, the table here, that the best return for that particular asset class was, for instance, the Russell 1000 Growth Total Return. This is an interesting one. It's a correlation matrix. If you are an investment analyst and you're looking to understanding what your fine lineup is or what to put in to your lineup, this is a good one to use. It basically tells you different things. A lot of our institutional consultants use this because they want to understand the relationship between the various funds that they're interested in. And this shows you the correlation of returns between managers, with red showing high correlation and blue showing low correlations. And again, in this graph, you can see that I think we have about 15 funds, but you can add as many funds as you want to for a deeper analysis. This is one of the data sets that we have that resides in our economic database. And here you can take a look at the graph. This is actually a pretty famous graph that we use at Morningstar. It allows you to retrieve our proprietary EBITDA indices and create the iconic SBBI chart. And this basically illustrates the cumulative growth of $1 if invested in stocks or bonds or bills and inflation since 1926 going back to 2014. This is a screenshot, but you can extrapolate this to the latest day today if you want to through our template. This one is another one that people really like. It's basically for competitive positioning, competitive analysis. Product managers or performer analysts really like to look into this one for peer-to-peer analysis, to calculate excess return. And it also allows them to use dynamic dates. So as they build this template, for instance, they can save it with those dynamic dates, and it's just a matter of opening it up and refreshing it every time they open to get the latest information. Here we also have added some of our proprietary Morningstar data points, the star rating, for instance, and you can download this template. You can customize the data points that you want to see. You can add more information, but this is definitely like a powerful template, and we'll go over it as well. And we've also added some conditional formatting here so you can see the various returns, how they're doing in terms of positive returns versus negative returns. So this sounds all great. I'm now going to jump into the demonstration because I know there's a lot of things to cover, and we'll probably not have time to go over all of it. But to get the Excel add-in, you have to download it. So it's an installation. There are two ways to download it. You can go to the website, which is excelapi.morningstar.com. Or you can, if you have access to Morningstar Direct, go through Direct and download it from there. On the website, you will basically see the latest version, and I will take you up there quickly so we can start that information. Okay, so this is the website that was in the screenshot, excelapi.morningstar.com. On the website, you have like our home tab here, and you'll see the link for the latest version, which is what I recommend that you download. We've also recently updated our user guide and VBA guide or quick reference guide. If you have any questions on that, you can check out. This is where you'll find the templates. We have a variety of templates here, and we'll go over a few of those, but you can see some holding analysis templates, sustainability ratings, performance tables, so on and so forth. And then finally, this is an important part of the website. It's called the data dictionary. This is where you will see all the different databases that we cover in the add-in that you can retrieve information on. And if you call in a particular database, so let's say all managed investments, and you want to know, for instance, fund flows, you can type in fund flow and it will tell you if that is a particular data point that we have. So it will actually be flow. And then you can see all the flow data points that we have that are attached to all management investments. And then finally, we have the frequently asked questions. This is pretty good to look at if you encounter any sorts of issues. So with that, I will open the Excel. So we are in Excel. When you have downloaded the Excel add-in, you will actually see this little ribbon here. It's called the Morningstar ribbon. And when you have it open, because you're a direct user, you will see everything that starts from profile to help. So you'll see the investment dialog, you'll see the economic data, the research function, and the resources. I have more icons on the left-hand side because I also manage the commodity side of the add-in. But as a user direct, you will be able to see the icons from profile to the right. So the first thing to do is you'll have to log in. So you'll go to direct and you will log in. It'll ask you your direct login credentials. You can put that information to log in, and then once you log in, it'll activate the icon. So we're going to go briefly over some of the templates so I can show you what some of the commands that I was discussing earlier are, and then we're going to build something from scratch. So this is one of the first templates. This one is basically looking at a year-to-year heat map, and what we've done is we've pulled returns for this particular security, and as you can see here, it says equal MSDP, which is the Morningstar discrete data point, and it's saying A3, which is in cell A3. If you look at it, this is the SEC ID that we use. It's an ID that's proprietary to Morningstar, but you can also use like a ticker. You can use an IC and a QSIP, any sorts of identifier, but for the purpose of this template, we've used a SEC ID. And then you say the data point that you're interested in, and in this case, it's name. So that's a classic MSDP call. Anything that you see in the table here is a time series data point. So in here, we're doing equal MSTS, so Morningstar time series. And then we're basically saying we want the return here for this particular security, which is an A3, and we want that from 1/1/2000 to 12/31/2006. So it populated that return. So this is how we've actually built this template. And after we've created all of this data, we've then brought in conditional formatting, which is the color, which is an Excel function to kind of highlight the different returns in terms of like color. So you can see the negative returns are in red and the positive returns are in green. And the higher the return, the greener it is when it's positive. So that's an Excel function as well. This is a template, which means that if I change this into something else, it will also give me, it will update the template to give me something else. So like here, for instance, I have the S&P 500, but I could put in something else, let's say Gilead, which is a stock. And this is a ticker, and you can see from the template that it's basically updated the name here to Gilead to reflect what I've typed into the primarily A3 cell, and it's also updated the returns that I see in the table for Gilead. So the second template is a performance table template. We've talked a little bit about this, but basically the way this is built is we're looking at particular funds, and we are pulling a series of information on them. So we're looking at the name of the fund. We are also looking at the benchmark for the fund, and we're also calculating excess return, which is basically like an Excel calculation, which is the difference between the return of the fund and the return of the benchmark. We are also looking at a series of returns. You can see here month to date, quarter to date, year to date, all the way to 5 years, and we've added some Morningstar proprietary data points. So let's go and look at the month to date. Similar to the previous map that I showed you with year-to-year map, you can see here we're also making an MSTS call, which is a Morningstar time series. We're looking into return for Dodge and Cox. And this time notice that we don't have dates. We have LMKT close minus 0 month, and then LMKT close. These are the dynamic dates that I mentioned earlier. They're also called dash codes. And what this allows you to do is by putting these codes in the formulas, every time you close your Excel and you open it, it will always give you the last market close. So if we were to code this hard-coded, last market close will be yesterday's date, so we'll have 3/21/2017. But what that would do is it will lock that date on 3/21. So if I was to open this tomorrow, it will still give me 3/21. But instead of that, I can use these dash codes and dynamic codes and say LMKT close, which is a code for last market close, so that if I open the template tomorrow, it'll give me last market close as of tomorrow, which is today. Or if I open it like on Tuesday of next week, it will give me last market close, which will be like the Monday's close. So these are powerful. This is a huge time saver because as you're building these templates, you can make them dynamic in such a way that you don't have to constantly like go and manipulate your formulas. You can just create them the first time and can just auto-run them. Similar here, we are doing an MSTP call for this one. This is basically looking at the benchmark information, and it's kind of just giving you the same information. So like saying go to A5 and give me the name for that. And then once we pull that information, we then do a simple calculation using Excel to show you the excess return, and this is the same for any of these. What you can do too is if you like this template, you can start adding more information to it, so you can start inserting and adding more data points to pull, or if you just want to add more of this because you just like this and you want to do, let's say, 20 funds instead of 10, you can just literally paste everything over and over again, and then you can change this. So let's say you don't care for Dodge and Cox anymore, you want to do another ticker. I think this is a ticker. So this is Furl Home. As you can see here, I've just typed in Furl Home in this, and it's updated the performance table. So these are some of the templates that we have. The next thing is I want to show you how, if you don't want to do the templates and you just have like a particular data set you're interested in and you want to customize, you can do that. And how would you do that? You can either manipulate the templates, or you can use what we call our user interface to retrieve the data. So in this case, the first example for the time series, that's what I'll go over because it's like one that a lot of people like and use. It's looking at Dodge and Cox, and we are trying to get the date, the return, and the flow for this particular security. That's what I'm actually trying to build. So I will come in here to this yellow cell, and for people who are a little bit lost right now, don't worry, this is going to be recorded, and I'll also be sending this workbook at the end of the call so you can practice and play around a little bit more. So this is our main dialog for investment. So you come in here, and this is where you will do a lot of the calls. If you don't know the formulas, you will use the UI to do that. But as you become an expert in the formula, you will not really need the UI because you can just copy and paste and manipulate the formula within the cells directly. So this is a newly redesigned UI, and we're very excited about it. It's very user-friendly, it's very intuitive, and it allows you to do a lot of different things. So when you come into the UI, you basically have a security section, so a security navigation, and then you also have a portfolio management navigation. The security navigation allows you to retrieve attributes and time series data on any security that we cover. It allows you to retrieve holdings information, and it also allows you to retrieve identifiers, and those are basically lists and searches within Direct. The portfolio management section allows you to retrieve any portfolio information that you have created in Morningstar Direct. So let's say you are a portfolio manager and you have like a portfolio called John Doe's portfolio. If you enter all of that information in Morningstar Direct and you want to retrieve it into the add-in, you can come in the add-in and retrieve that here and see specific data points that you've created for that security. Or if you have that portfolio that you've created over time and you want to see the holdings and how it's been doing, you can also pull that information here. So the first thing is we're interested in attribute time series. That's really what we're doing. We want to get information for Dodge and Cox, and we want to get the date, we want to get a return, and we want to get the flow. So how do we do that? The first thing is to type in the ticker. So DODGX, you can type in as all the ticker or just part of it. It's autocomplete, so it will like bring it up. So this is the first one that I want, and the data point that I want is return. So as you type in, it auto-populate. If you had like a particular question on return and you don't know what exactly return is, you can click on that little icon here. It will actually open up a window in your browser to give you the definition of that return. So when you select return, it then gives you a set of dynamic settings that you can then choose. So it's now asking you also tell me about the time frames that you're looking into getting. So in our example here, I am going to go ahead and choose for 3 years of information. You can see we have a lot of data. You can go back 20 years, which is great. So 3 years ago, we then filled this information, and then I want this as of last month end. It will fill it for me, and I also want this to be sorted by descending order. I want to show dates. As you see, I want to see the dates in column B, and I want this to be like standard returns. The frequency, I want this frequency to be monthly, but you have the options to choose other frequencies. The field, I want that to be blank. I only want to see trading day, activity days. You can change that to something else. And then once you've done this one, you click on Add. One thing that I didn't talk about is up here, you can see some options. This shows you that you can output the information you're calling for with the header. I don't really care for the header because I already have my own headers in cell B5, so I'm just going to say no, I don't want to see that. But you can also say instead of seeing the data in columns, you want to see in rows. So I do add, and then from now, I know that I have returned, but I also want to find flow. So I highlight this again, and what it does, it brings again that formula, and I can edit that formula. So now I want to do flow. But as you can see, there's a lot of flow data, and I don't really know which one I'm interested in, and I also don't really want to click here to see. This is where I can go to the data dictionary, and I will show you where you can get that information. So the data dictionary is here, and I'm under all manage investments, and I'm just going to type in flow, and in here I can see like all the flow information that I want, and I can also see the type of data, if it's like discrete data or if it's like a series data. So I'm interested in monthly flows. I can kind of go over it, and then I can see, let's see, I believe this is the one that I'm interested in, so I can just copy that information, and I can come back into my UI here and just paste that information, so I can pull that out of the screen. So I will do flow. So that's the one that I want. And you can see that it's remembering the settings for the previous ones. It's going to be 3 years, last month end, but you can change that if you don't like that. And I don't want to show the dates because I already have this day short, and the header is fine. And then I click on the frequency using it monthly. All of it is good. I click on add, and then now I just submit, because that's basically what I wanted to pull in these 3 columns. And then you can see here that I have my date, I have the return, and then I have the flow. This one is conditionally formatted. I've added that. So basically, This is a function of Excel, and what it's showing the positive flows in green and the negative flows in red, and the side of the bar is the magnitude of the flow, how big the flow is or how small the flow is. You can see here that I haven't really templatized that, so this is specific to Dodge and Cox. You can see that information here. So let's say I didn't want to always do this for Dodge and Cox, and I just wanted to do this for like a series of funds. I can come in here and reference cell A4 and enter that, and I'll have to do this for flow as well, so it's consistent. And now what this will do is if I come in here and I change Dodge and Cox to Fairholme, it will update that information for me. So this is how you go about creating a template. The next thing that I want to talk about, you will do similar for stocks, and I'll fill that information and send it to you for the sake of time. We're going to talk about the discrete function, and I know there is a couple of calls, so I will take that right after I demoed this one. This one is an awesome function. It's called the discrete function. What it allows you to do is actually have like a series of like securities that you're interested in, whether it's like a stock or a fund, and then a series of data points that you want associated to that. So instead of just going and pulling each of these at a time, you can call this function. It's MSDP, and it's very easy. You then select the range of securities that you're interested in pulling. And in my case, I have 69, but you can have like, I don't know, thousands of data points if you want to. And then you hold control and you'll check the data point names that you're interested in here. And then you close, and then you will click enter, and it'll literally go ahead and like process all of this information and fill it out for you. So you can see here in less than like couple of seconds, all of this information filled out. So most of the time I get the question, well, how do I find this list? This is a list that you can, if you have something that you've created in Direct, like a list or a screen, you can pull that in the add-in using MS Members. And then these data points here, you can get them through the UI, or you can go to the data dictionary that I showed earlier when I looked up for fund flow to look at what these codes are for each of the data points. Some of them are pretty intuitive, like ticker, name is name, but if you want to see like the fee level, it's like M star dash fee level. So the next one is, I will do this and I'll take the questions, is the holdings information. This is pretty cool. So one of the things I was talking to you earlier is the ability to call in like holdings of like a particular fund for a specific time horizon. So for this, you will do investments, and then you'll go to the holdings sub-tab, and then you'll put in the ticker that you're interested in, OAKLX here. You can also type in like Oakmark if you wanted to, and you want to see that by SEC ID that's specific to Morningstar. It's our own identifier, or ticker, ISIN or QSIP. I like ticker personally. And then I can put like a date. If you had like a dash code because you want this to be dynamically like retrieve, you can do that as well. But I want to see this holdings information for, I actually want to enter a date. So I want this from 10 years ago, so 2017, that'll be 2007. So I'll go 1/01/2007, and then I'll go to last quarter end. I want to show this by descending order. I want to show the name of the holdings. You can also show the holding type if you only want to see the stock holdings or bonds. I'm just going to do stock holdings for now. And the frequency of these holdings, I want them on a quarterly basis because it's a lot of information for 10 years. If you wanted like only the top holdings, top 10, you can put 10 here. And I want this by percent, and I do add. And notice that here, when you add, you can also see like the formula, which is basically telling you what you're requesting, and then you do submit. So I'm going to remove the header because I don't really want that. You submit that information, and then you can see the holdings information over time from 2016, because I put it by descending, all the way to let's see here, 2007. you can see that these are basically something that we've done in the past to show people how these holdings are doing over time. But what you can do from here is highlight all of this information here. And then you can go into insert. You can insert like a column. And then you can insert a location. This is a visual representation of what exactly happened to the holdings. So you can see over time what the user is getting. Bring this up here. Okay. So you can see here the graphical representation of when a particular manager is selling a particular holding, getting into a particular holding, which is pretty cool. You can kind of expand this, and then using Excel, you can do like a little bit more. You can show like the high points, which you can see here in light blue. But this is really fun. People really like that. So we have about 15 minutes. I'm going to start looking into the questions. This is just scratching the surface of the capabilities of the Excel add-in. There's definitely more to learn, and I highly recommend that you reach out to your CSC or contact our Morningstar to get further training on this. And I'm going to start looking into the questions. So the first question through the chat is, let's see, a couple of questions for international clients. What identifier can we use for offshore, open-end funds? So for that, yes, you can use ISIN to query the database, and it will give you that information. Are there currency overrides available on the API? So one of the things, I'm going to open another one here. If you are here and you take in a particular security, so let's say, and I think the data points that have currency, here you can see that you have options to choose other currency that is not base currency, and as you check those, it will apply that information to the return that you are getting. So that way, you don't have to start doing currency conversion. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's one thing that you